Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached Poland. This is his first stop ahead of his visit to Ukraine. He's met members of the Indian diaspora after he arrived in Warsaw. This visit really signals India's strategic focus on Central Europe. And this, of course, with holding community events, meetings with the business community there as well. Let's understand the significance of his visit to Poland. And Kanwal Sibal is a former Foreign Secretary of India, and he's joining us on the show to help us understand the significance. As the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Poland in 45 years, Mr. Sibal, help us understand the bilateral significance you associate to this visit by the Prime Minister, especially in the context of India's outreach to Central and East European countries.
Well, India is trying to strengthen its ties with the European Union.
Yes.
And Poland has become an increasingly important member of the Union. Its economy was doing very well. In fact, ever since 1992, it has registered very high growth rates, though in 2023, there was a bit of a slump. It is now the sixth largest economy in the European Union. We've had very good ties, especially at the cultural level, with Poland ever since the 19th century, in fact, when we were not even independent. So there is good reason for India to focus on Poland as an increasingly important player in the European Union. Let us also not forget that Poland is a frontline state insofar as the conflict with Europe's conflict with Russia is concerned.
Correct.
It goes beyond the Ukraine conflict because the United States has looked upon Poland as its privileged strategic partner, if you like, ally in the European Union.
Yes.
Some years ago, the United States put elements of its ABM system in Poland.
Correct.
And Polish people of Polish origin in the United States exert a lot of influence on U.S. foreign policy.
Correct.
This also true of some European countries. So a mixture of Poland's increasingly important economic profile,
yes,
as well as its political profile within the European Union, backed by the extra attention it receives from the United States of America, and of course now the fact that it's a frontline state with regard to the
Correct.
conflict with Russia makes it relevant in terms of our willingness to increase our footprint.
So, Mr. Sibal, I was reading how Poland has seen some rapid economic growth over the last 3 decades. It has certainly grown. They have a large population, about 38 million. It's located very centrally in Europe, something that you pointed out. And also they have massive spending, which accounts for more than 4% of their GDP this year itself. So in terms of the outreach by India at this point in time, it has taken a long period for India to go to Poland, for a Prime Minister to visit. But clearly there are opportunities over there. What do you think are the opportunities that India would look at tapping into?
Well, as you know, our trade is roughly under $6 billion, which is not bad. We have very considerable investment, over $1 billion in Poland. And as Poland is doing well economically, has been doing well and will begin to do well according to IMF estimates from 2025 onwards, there are a lot of possibilities in the areas in which we have strengths. The IT sector, of course, as it is, we are present there in this sector. Then there's pharmaceuticals. Textiles is a big opportunity for us. The health sector is a big opportunity for us. And as we are trying now to expand cooperation in the digital sphere with many countries, Poland can also be a target for this digital public infrastructure and all that. In terms of education, also, there are about very considerable number of Indian students in Poland. So there are elements on which we can build. The sensitivity is with regard to Poland's very deep-seated historical animosity towards Russia, and it is now a leading player in the conflict with Russia, with American backing. So does it provide the best timing It doesn't mean that the timing is the best with regard to engaging Poland. This can be debated. The timing could have been better, but then
Oh, that's
should we?
interesting. You think
But
the timing could have been better because the war that Russia has waged on Ukraine, now having entered year 3, of course, Ukraine being the other country that the Prime Minister is going to visit on this trip. So do you think that this is perhaps also India's attempt to bring peace, play the role of a mediator, because the Prime Minister also visited Moscow and he met Putin there? Or do you think this is more about seeking opportunities for post-war reconstruction? That is the other opportunity that India might want to tap into.
No, that is very far-fetched. First, we must see an end to the war and then see what the configuration of the peace would be and where the reconstruction would be. After all, a lot of Donetsk area has been destroyed. And in fact, there's not that much destruction in the rest of the Ukraine. The destruction is essentially in the area which is today under the control of or become part of Russia, and that's where all the resources and the industry infrastructure was present in that part of Ukraine, and not in the rest of Ukraine, which is highly agricultural. And there's not that much scope. And in terms of developing the mineral resources of Ukraine, which the American companies are buying very assiduously, I don't think there's that much of a chance for India. And then, countries closer by like Turkey, which is very strong in terms of looking for opportunities for infrastructure development. They would like to, especially as they've also been instrumental in some kind of mediation, they would like to take the most part of it, or a large part of it, or a significant part of it, and India could, of course, gain something. But that is a long-term thinking. I mean, you're not going to lay the foundations of that today. But insofar as mediation is concerned, with the action that Ukraine has taken in invading Russia proper, this is the first time that Russian territory has been invaded since the Second World War. This is an extremely sensitive issue for Russia, especially the Kursk area, which is highly symbolic.
Right.
And Putin has said very clearly there's nothing left to talk about. So I don't think that they would be ready to engage in any dialogue with Ukraine after this Kursk episode.
Right.
And I think the Ukrainians have, in a sense, spoiled the timing of our Prime Minister's visit, who was on a peace mission, by taking this escalatory step, which actually makes it very difficult for our Prime Ministers to send the kind of message that he may have in mind, because in his tweet before departure, he said that he is going to share with Zelensky our perspectives on resolving the conflict in Ukraine and bringing about peace.
Yes.
But with the kind of action that Zelensky has ordered, I am not too sure what peace perspectives India.
When you see the solidification, Mr. Sibal, of India's diplomatic efforts, whether it's in the neighborhood or now in Central Europe, how do you think the trajectory is moving in terms of what India hopes to achieve in times to come, when you're looking at its relations with Europe, when you're looking at a free trade agreement with UK? How do you think that trade possibilities are being explored by the current dispensation?
Well, we have been very active. We've signed this trade agreement with Australia, with the UAE very successfully. We are discussing it with Bahrain, with Peru, with the UK. I think it has entered into some kind of a difficult phase, especially with the change of government there. So I don't know what the perspectives there are in the immediate. With the European Union, the FTA will take some time to be finalized, and then there's the European Parliament, which has to approve the FTA, and the European Parliament is very unpredictable insofar as India is concerned, because they raise constantly the human rights issues and the minority issues. So we will have to see how it goes. And then some of our other projects, which are not necessarily limited to trade agreements, but which had a trade perspective in view, whether it's the India Middle East Economic Corridor or the ITU2, they have run into some kind of difficulty because of the war in the Middle East, the Israeli war against Gaza. In our own area, I think
So
with
do
the
you
change
see a
in
definite direction, Mr. Sibal?
no, in our own area now that Bangladesh has had a regime change,
Yes.
we should visualize some difficulties there. With the Maldives, we are recovering our position, but that doesn't mean that Muzu reached out to China and Turkey would give up those options so easily. With Sri Lanka, they still have some reservations about SIPA, whatever. We've been talking to them. The next phase in our ties with trade ties with Sri Lanka, with Nepal, we've done a lot in bilaterally in
Indeed.
terms of
So there are
projects.
diverse conditions, economic and otherwise. Of course, Bangladesh, we're talking about what happened in Sri Lanka in the past. All of that throws up challenges as far as India's diplomatic efforts are concerned. At this time, the Prime Minister is in Poland. He's going to visit Ukraine next. How much further he's going to push the trade agenda is going to be, of course, very closely watched. And this, even as the war carries on between Russia and Ukraine. And we're talking about the possibilities that after the war, what kind of arrangement are we going to have with Europe and how important a part Poland could play in that? All of that is a moving piece, and we are tracking that very closely. Mr. Sibal, it's a pleasure having you on India Tonight with your perspective. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Speaking at the 160.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.